humbled to introduce to you the one and only Ron Paul. Good to see the Justice again. Hope to see him in the Supreme Court another time. Yeah! Gary, thank you for that nice introduction. I'd like to introduce my wife of 55 years, Carol. We have 18 grandchildren. We brought one along, Linda. But it is great to be here and hear the enthusiasm. That means that the issues are alive and well, the spirit is alive and well. Matter of fact, not only is it alive and well, it's growing by leaps and bounds. It's been a tough struggle, but we will become noticed because what we have in Washington today, it's not working, it's failing, and they have to come our way. They have to look to the ideas of liberty to bring this country out of the doldrums, and I predict that's what's going to happen. Yeah! It is wonderful. I've been talking about these issues for a long time. I also love medicine, practiced medicine for a long time. I've been in Congress for 4 terms. We went back to medicine, but you know, I thought maybe the country's ready, maybe the changes will occur, and that was in '97. And even in 1997, I was a bit disappointed. There really wasn't. But there's something different going on right now. It started about 4 years ago. I think what's happened is the recognition by just about everybody in this country there's something seriously flawed with the government that we have today, and we have to change it. That's what I think. We've ever been offered is just tinkering with the edges, tinkering with the status quo, manage it this way. It's never, should we be managing things? Should we be in these wars? Should they be attacking our civil liberties? It's always, if you elect me, I'm going to go up there and I'm going to manage things differently. What we need is a lot less government management of our lives and a lot more individuals running their own lives.
President Paul! President Paul! President Paul! President Paul! President Paul!
You know, you hear so often other candidates running for the president, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do this. The one thing, though, is, and I'm convinced, if you're a constitutional president, you really can't say that. Because the president is not supposed to be a king. The president is not supposed to say... enforce law and order. He's not supposed to go to war on his own. He's supposed to only go to war when the people endorse the war and the Congress votes for it. And the president certainly should get the authority from somebody outside this country, like the United Nations or NATO. They don't have the authority. And no, a president can't and shouldn't even try to run the world. I mean, we have enough jobs trying to run our own personal lives, so we shouldn't pretend we know what to tell other people to do. But the president also shouldn't assume to run your lives. It's your life. You should run your life as you please. If you make mistakes, they're your mistakes. If you're successful, you should reap the benefits of your success. You don't have to property rights and contracts rights and sound money. The government has a responsibility to make sure that environment is correct, that you do have freedom and its acceptance of property rights. But if you don't have that, you can't expect a president to come in and say, under the conditions of economic intervention to run the economy, that it's only a decision that you argue, I can run the economy better than this guy, I can run the economy better. The president can't run the economy. The people have to run the economy. Right.
That's right.
One of the motivating factors for me to get involved in politics many years ago, and that's the issue of money. We all want prosperity. We don't have prosperity now, and what we have is precarious because there's a misunderstanding on economics. But basically, the people in Washington, even though they do things wrong, people aren't against prosperity. But one thing with certainty, and I decided this in the late 60s, 1970s, early 70s, when I started studying monetary policy. You cannot have a sound economy, you can't have a wealthy nation if you don't have sound money.
And the Fed! 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 And the Fed!
A very good idea. This state, as well as other states, are taking the initiative of obeying the Constitution. It says the states cannot use anything other than silver and gold as legal tender. Yeah. So when we obey that, we'll have sound money again. It wasn't an accident that we had sound money put into the Constitution explicitly. It was one of the things that the founders put in because they had runaway inflation with the continental dollar. So they put in there, only gold and silver can be legal tender. There can be no printing press money, and there is no authority for a central bank. So therefore, what are we doing? Why have we allowed this to happen? For 100 years now, we have allowed the Federal Reserve to exist, and look at what they've given us. This is one place where we made tremendous progress with the people, because today, for the first time in the history of the Federal Reserve, which is 100 years old, today, the Federal Reserve, in their monetary manipulations, they're creating of bubbles and creating a recession. It is now an issue that almost all Americans know about today. 85% of the American people now say, at least, we have to make them open the books and find out what they've been up to. Yeah. Who do they take care of? Is it Wall Street? Is it Goldman Sachs and all the banks and the military? But to do it in secret, and for us to allow them to get away with this is beyond. I don't think we will have a republic until we know exactly who's putting the money, why they're putting money, who they're bailing out, and who they're taking care of. Country approximately 100 years ago. The attitudes changed. They changed about what the role of government ought to be. Our founders, the fought a revolution, they decided that the role of government wasn't all that complex. They said the role of government should be to protect liberty. No more complex than that. Protect liberty. That's what all political action should be. Working to protect individual liberty, not collective liberty. Liberty comes to us as individuals, not because we belong to a group. And everybody should have their liberty. The founders were very clear in their understanding that social, personal liberty is not different from economic liberty. Today, some people defend economic liberty. Oh yeah, we like free enterprise and we'll try to lower taxes and things. And then another group said, no, civil liberties are important, and they will. But each group will not protect both of them. The economic libertarians will protect social liberals, liberty, and vice versa. But liberty is one unit. It comes to us as an individual. We have a right to our life. We own our life. We have our liberty. We should have the right to keep our property, and we should have economic liberty as well.
Woo!
Principle of liberty, not only is it popular, it brings people together. This is the magnificent thing. Because when you think about it, people use their liberties differently. Most of us can understand rather clearly about religious freedom. We have religious freedom. We have freedom not to practice religion. We have freedom to pick and choose our religion. And that's a pretty important right to have. But we don't object to people who do something different than us. But too often, when it comes to other social policies, our habits and our social activities, all of a sudden we say, oh, if we give them too much freedom, they might do something that we don't approve of. Yeah. And they think that liberty means that you endorse something. Not necessarily. Because we believe in religious liberty, it doesn't mean that you have to endorse anybody else's religion. You just endorse your own, and you want your freedom to practice your own religion. People and steal from other people and damage their property, it's your life, and you should, it's your responsibility. So all of a sudden, if you understand this, this brings people of all walks of life together. Because they will use their liberty in a different way, and it shouldn't be offensive. You say, well, yes, you're tolerating too much. Well, toleration doesn't mean endorsement. What you're endorsing and what you really want is the principle of liberty. And this is what creates prosperity and creative activity, and it allows a society to be nonviolent. This endorses the nonviolent approach. Yeah. If you apply that domestically, just think of what it's like if you apply it internationally. All of a sudden, debates, but occasionally we've been having a debate here and there. Yeah. And there was one night when I brought up the subject of the golden rule.
Yeah!
That wasn't the response I got. But you know, the golden rule is endorsed by all the major religions. It's not an outrageous religious statement. It's just a good common sense that all religions endorse. That you treat other people the way you would like to be treated. So my suggestion at the debate was, well, what would it be like if we treated other nations exactly the way we would like to be treated? We own the world, that the world is ours, and now we have 900 bases. We have 130 countries that were involved, and you'd think we'd own the Persian Gulf. But what if other nations thought they owned the Gulf of Mexico? You know, no way. I think there would be a little bit of objection. But you know, this whole idea, this idea that we are an exceptional nation. People use this in a perverse manner. Yes, we're an exceptional nation. This thought has been around a long time, even back from Woodrow Wilson and others. We are such an exceptional nation. We do such wonderful things, and we understand democracy. So we're going to invade countries, use force, use them, occupy their country, and force them to have elections. And then when they have elections, then they elect the people we didn't want, so we ignore their elections. Supposed to be motivated by good intentions. is we end up with more enemies than we need. We just don't need more enemies, more killing, more Americans dying, more people from around the world dying. Drones now bombing almost, they can bomb any spot in the world. And what's going on now? Now they're talking about having thousands of 30,000 drones patrolling our skies in the United States. They would like to control the internet, but fortunately the people heard about that. Already they've set the standard that the military now is a law enforcement agency for domestic law, that the military now, with the canceling out of the posse comitatus, that the military can arrest any American citizen if they become a suspect. They don't get charged, they're not offered an attorney, they can be put in a secret prison and considered and kept indefinitely. That is not part of American tradition. That has to be reversed. Because we have been careless in the way we've gone to war, up until World War II, we declared war. And some of them should have been declared, but at least we declared them. And we fought them, and we won them, and we came home. But lately, that hasn't been the case. Since World War II, we have declared one war, and the wars are just continuous. They've been very bad these last 10 years. The World War II, fighting both the Japanese and the Germans, was less than 4 years. Yeah. And there was a victory declared. But today, we've been in Afghanistan for 12 years, and now the reports are coming out. Some of the military people are speaking out and saying it's all a fake and a fraud. There's been no progress in Afghanistan.
President Paul! President Paul! President Paul! President Paul! Bring them home! Bring them home!
Now, the troops absolutely should come home. Somebody asked me once, when should you bring them home? I said, as soon as we get the ships over there. They should come home, and we shouldn't be over there. We shouldn't be pushing ourselves around the world. We should be offering what the founders told us to offer and what's available in the Constitution: friendship and peace. Friendship and trade and peace. Impressive things that impressed on my mind during the 1960s was that I was drafted during the Cuban crisis. I was in the Air Force for 5 years, but I did not have to go to Vietnam, but obviously that was a big event in the 1960s, and we were there to stop the domino effect of communism. Of course, we lost that war. We lost 60,000 men and women that lost their lives, and all the wounded and the tragedies and the hundreds of thousands, if not millions, of Vietnamese that died with the 20 years of war by the French in America. All that to impose our will on a country that had a civil war going on. And what happened when we lost and left? All of a sudden, there was no domino effect. The domino effect was capitalism that we were giving up on and they were picking up on. China ends up being our banker now, and we're trading partners with the Vietnamese. We go back and forth and trade and invest, and we're not killing each other. So just think how much can be achieved in peace that is never achieved in war. War is a negative. It's always a negative. About the foreign policy of non-intervention, and they're confused. Why is it they will ask me, they say, Ron, you're doing pretty well in the campaign, but you could do so much better if you would just change your foreign policy. I said, if you understood what was going on and he would come out to an event like this. That's why the people like this campaign. Further evidence to show that we're on the right track on this is when you look at the money coming in. Where does the money go from the military? It goes to our campaign. We get more money than all the rest put together. So the evidence is very strong that the American people are getting tired of the war. I think this is part of what's happened in the last 4 or 5 years. The freedom movement has been creeping along, but there's been an explosion of interest in the defense of individual liberty. But what happened 4 or 5 years ago in 07, 08 was the collapse of the economy, and people know how serious it is, and that we're not out of the doldrums yet. And they know also that the people who are benefiting in the financial bubble now are getting, they're the ones who got the bailout, and guess what? The middle class got stuck with the bills. The middle class, and they lost their jobs and they lost their houses. Now, I saw a statistic today. It was a poll by one of the major networks. I haven't studied it, but there was one part of it that I sort of liked. And they were gauging all the candidates in their acceptance by the middle class. And our campaign won the acceptance by the middle class, wholly above all the rest. The middle class. That's what freedom does. It builds the middle class. We have the largest middle class and the most prosperous middle class in the history of the world. But the evidence now is absolutely certain that the middle class is shrinking. It started to shrink even before 07. It started to shrink in the year 2000. At the time of the NASDAQ bubble, the jobs have not come back. And we have been in the doldrums. And now the prosperity that we have today, which is still a fair amount, it's based on debt. That is the big problem. And that's why it's not so. In the productivity, the real production that made America great financially, the productivity is not here. It's overseas due to bad policies, bad monetary policy. Consuming our wealth in wars that don't need to be fought. Consumption, a lot of people, there's been a lot of people who have been taught over the many decades that war is good for the economy. They still teach that in schools. And they still teach, and they'll say, well, isn't that when the Depression ended? No, it wasn't. When it lowered unemployment, but you hired 10 million people and put guns in their hands and call them employed, that's hardly proof of employment.